You don't miss your life. You miss the part of you that reacted to it. At first, that sounds obvious. Of course. Responsibilities pile up. Time compresses. The nervous system adapts. You think the spark faded because the days got heavier. That explanation fits. It lets everything stay orderly. But notice how quickly that explanation closes the case. Because if it were just pressure, relief would bring something back. A weekend. A pause. A change of scenery. And when it doesn't, the mind quietly blames itself for not using the relief correctly. So the story adjusts. Maybe you're burned out. Maybe you're overstimulated. Maybe you need novelty. That sounds accurate too. It explains the flatness without accusing it. It feels kind. Still, something is off. What you call emptiness isn't empty. It's full of monitoring. A constant internal scan. Am I engaged yet? Is this meaningful yet? Should this matter more than it does? The moment doesn't pass through you. It gets evaluated. That evaluation feels neutral. Practical. Almost invisible. But it changes everything. Experience becomes something you observe from a slight distance, even while you're inside it. This is where the misunderstanding deepens. You assume you've lost intensity. That the volume of life dropped. But the volume is still there. What changed is the permission to be overtaken by it. Not suppressed. Not avoided. Just, uninterrupted. The mind learned something useful a long time ago. It learned how not to fall all the way into moments. How to keep a thin layer of control. Enough to stay functional. Enough to stay safe. And now that layer never turns off. This doesn't feel like fear. That would be too obvious. It feels like maturity. Like perspective. Like having seen enough to not be impressed so easily. That's why it's hard to question. Nothing is wrong. And that's the problem. Because when nothing is wrong, attention turns inward. Not curiosity. Surveillance. You watch yourself having experiences instead of having them. Even boredom gets observed. Even interest is measured. The mind asks one quiet question, is this enough? That question never leaves. It flattens peaks before they rise. It keeps disappointment hypothetical. It keeps joy brief. It's efficient. It prevents regret before regret exists. It looks like intelligence. But intelligence that never risks contact becomes insulation. You move through conversations. Through music. Through events that should land. And they do land. Just not deep enough to disturb anything already in place. There is a quiet trade happening here. You didn't choose it consciously. It just solidified over time. Less volatility. Less impact. In return, less aliveness. This isn't sadness. Sadness still moves. This is flatter than that. More stable. More manageable. A controlled interior climate. There is a moment now where nothing needs to be explained. When you hear missing life, you imagine absence. Lost opportunities. Different paths. But what's missing isn't external. It's the raw contact that made moments feel unfiltered. Only near the end does the word appear. Numbness. Not as a condition. As a strategy that outlived its usefulness. You don't miss your life. You miss the version of you that didn't stay slightly outside of it. And that recognition doesn't ask for anything. It just sits there.